It's Spadoni, Lubman, and Frashaski, and our man Brian Baldinger joining us now. Baldy, good morning, man. And we were just talking about, the latest comments from one Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, on, I think it was like a German broadcast, and he's like, oh yeah, we'll have an international NFL team at some point. He has no doubts about that. Just your thoughts in general about how NFL's presence has gone internationally. And when you say international, like, I think our minds go to in America, like overseas, right? Europe, right? Like you think of, what they've done in London, right? They're in Germany, Spain, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think it makes sense, Baldy. Like if they wanted like a team like in Canada, right? Vancouver or something like that, or Toronto, hell, even Mexico City, like, would you be down for that?
Yes, I would. Commissioner's over there in Dusseldorf for the International Flag Football Championships. So he's watching that. It's becoming a global game. I was there in NFL Europe for 10 years. Your boss, Matt Hagan, was over there. We saw the enthusiasm for the sport. We always thought that they should have just put the league, the NFL Europe League, like just headquartered it, instead of London, put it in Germany, because that's where the fans were. In fact, the final game I did with Bob Papa of the Giants, me and Bob did the last game over there, the World Bowl, one year in Frankfurt. We had almost 60,000 people there that day for the championship game. And that was pretty routine. They're going to have it. They've played with all kinds of different scenarios, like you have sort of a makeshift camp, maybe in Florida, outside of Jacksonville, where you come back and you stay for 2 weeks, you play games here. You got to camp over in London or Germany or someplace. I just think they've got 9 international games. They're all sold out. Like they're going to have 17 international games. You might as well put a team over there. And I was there one time, Joe. I was there one time talking to all the sponsors, international sponsors, Aon, all these sponsors that sponsor, all the different soccer leagues and stuff. And I remember Odell Beckham was there, and he was a young player at that time. And I was like, Odell, you probably have a deal with Ferrari over here, like Gucci. Like they would have so many deals, sponsor deals. Like I think it's going to happen. It might take another 10 years, but I think it's going in that direction.
Baldy, turn our attention back to this side of the pond, I guess, with the 49ers. The big story we're talking about this morning is regarding one Christian McCaffrey. And is he holding in? Is he experiencing tightness? We're not really sure what to make of it. I won't ask you to tell me if he's holding in or not, but just when you hear Christian McCaffrey dealing with tightness at this point of the season, knowing his health history, knowing how important he is to the 49ers offense, is there a level of concern that you have there that we are hearing these reports about him? Hopefully it is holding in because then he's healthy. I don't know. Just how do you make sense of everything that's going on with him right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just saw Jahmyr Gibbs, and, I've just seen these running. I saw all these running backs have just gotten paid. And I'm sure he's looking at that going, I've got one more big payday in me. Like, let me go. I mean, like, that's just business. I think this is business. I don't know what tightness means at this point. I know it's like August 17th or something. They don't play a meaningful game until they head overseas. So they've got 3 weeks left at least. I feel like there's plenty of time if there is tightness. And then if it is a hold-in, and I don't know if it is or not, I haven't talked to him, but I mean, I'm sure he's looked at, Bijan and Jahmyr and, Saquon last year. I mean, I'm sure he's looked at all these guys and what they're making compared to what he's making is like, I'm as valuable as any of those guys to their team. Why can't I get that? And I'm sure I'm sure whether it's a hold-in or not, I'm sure he's looking at that. You can't help yourself but look at it and go, put me up to pay scale right now.
Well, you bring up Bijan and Gibbs there, and they're two of the top backs in leagues, rightfully so. They should be paid as such. McCaffrey's also up there in terms of what he's done over the last few years, but the biggest difference between McCaffrey and Gibbs and Robinson is the age factor. There's a lot of football still to be played with those two, whereas McCaffrey, he's 30 years old. Most running backs after age 30, it's not that great. The conversation, I think, is based on, do you pay him off of what he's done already over the last few years, or are you trying to pay him over what you think he might be doing over the next couple of years? Just how do you factor in the age in this conversation?
Yeah, look, that's a Jed York question, a John Lynch question. I think you got to factor both. I mean, I don't think we're going to see Christian McCaffrey from 23, where he's just all world. I don't know if we're going to see that guy, but they don't get to the playoffs without him last year. They won't get to the playoffs without him this year. I looked at all the backs. I don't see a guy that's ready to step in and take carries away from him. He's still going to be the focal point of the offense. Now, he might not give you the home run ball that he was capable of hitting the way Saquon has done, the way Jameer and, Bijan do right now. So that's, you got to definitely factor that in for sure. But this is not a playoff team without a healthy Christian McCaffrey. I don't believe that. Now, somebody's got to prove me wrong, but that's what I think about him.
Well, and that's kind of been the topic of conversation is none of these guys behind, Christian, if he does have the leverage right now, you would think, because Jordan James fractured rib, Baldy, Kalen Black, adductor injury. He hasn't practiced. You drafted him to, potentially be the number 2 back behind Christian. They just cut Khalil Herbert. Obviously, Grindo's been out for months. Baldy, I'm concerned about the depth overall with this running back unit right now, considering the guy in Christian, who's 30, had 400 touches last year. How boom or bust is this running back room right now in San Francisco?
I mean, what is his name? Sincere McCormick?
Yes.
Is that? Yeah. Okay. I was just checking. So I didn't know. Didn't know who he was. All right. I had to look it up. So I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right. But that's who's getting the carries the other day. And, you just go around the league and you look at running back depth on good teams, and look, Seattle just spent their first round pick on a running back. They recognize it. I just was in Kansas City out there in St. Joseph, Missouri, and I'm looking at the depth, that they have right now behind Kenneth Walker. They've got players, and so you look at the Jets. Maybe Breece Hall's out for a little while, but Braylon Allen just went 32 yards for a touchdown the other day. Isaiah Adams, they've got this kid, Trey Annam, that was a monster back at Ohio State and then transferred, but he looked good. Teams have depth at that position, and it's not like questionable depth. They've got real guys that can carry the ball. Isaiah Pacheco goes to Detroit to back up Jahmyr Gibbs. You're looking at guys that have been productive in this league on these teams. And that's especially with the injuries you just read off, they don't have that luxury right now in San Francisco.
Let's look ahead to this preseason week 2 game here against the Chargers. First off, just how are you noticing NFL teams are utilizing this second week of the preseason? Because obviously back in the day when there was 4 preseason games, that week 3 game was kind of the dress rehearsal game when teams would have their starters play sometimes the first half, even into the third quarter. Just how much of the starters would you expect to see the Niners maybe play in this preseason game against the Chargers? Or are these joint practices kind of seen as more valuable than these preseason games?
It's a great question. And because I hear, Detroit's not doing joint practices this year. They said they get nothing out of it. It just becomes a big brawl and a big fight that we've seen. And that's just a waste of time. And the thought of somebody getting hurt. I remember one time watching the Raiders and the Rams in a joint practice, and literally Sean McVay was running across the field to grab Aaron Donald away from a fight. He didn't grab anybody else. He just grabbed his best player. And then, last week we saw Josh Allen. We saw Joe Burrow. We saw starters out there, Bryce Young. We saw starters out there playing in week 1, which surprised me. But at the same time, these teams know they got to get some work in. You just can't show up week 1, September 13th, whenever you start, and expect to be good. So I feel like the teams that didn't maybe play their starters last week, we might see it this week. And then a lot of teams are scrimmaging. I'm going to see the Dolphins and the Giants scrimmage. The Eagles are scrimmaging this week. A lot of teams are scrimmaging this week, and that might take you away from it. But I know some teams are down on the scrimmages as well. So I think it's literally team by team right now.
Well, and it's interesting. And Brian Baldinger joining us here on the River Islands guest line, NFL Odyssey Insider, And the parallels between the Chargers and who's on that staff and team compared to the Niners is fascinating, right? You got Trey Lance. You got Jim Harbaugh, former head coach here at San Francisco. You got Mike McDaniel now, obviously, over there as OC. And then, Mac Jones and, Herbert and all that. Just Brock Purdy. There's so much parallels with this team that I find fascinating. We can get to that. But I do want to, harken back to that preseason game 1 against the Titans. This guy, Dejon's dribbling, Baldy. He's checking all the boxes, whether that's training camp, whether that's joint practices, in the game, right? 7 receptions, 63 yards. It looks like the Niners have found something. I know it's early. It's not regular season, but he flashes.
A couple things about him. One, he catches everything with his hands. The ball doesn't hit his body. You look at the fade down the sidelines, 32 yards, whatever it was. Like he's high pointing the ball perfectly. The comeback, on the little comeback route. I mean, he's coming back to the ball, not letting the defender have a chance to defend it. Like just little things that you see. Like every quarterback loves a receiver that catches the ball with his hands, because it just gives the Devin Witherspoons of the world, just gives those guys less chance to defend a pass. It's one of the things that, A.J. Brown was so good at. He caught everything out front with his hands coming back to the ball, and defenders had to really it didn't hit their chest where they had more of a chance to defend it. So I see things in there that looks really promising right now. And, obviously we all kind of couch preseason, but you're still looking for the fundamentals of the game. People can tell me about it's only preseason. All right. But there's things that you can still glean from any player at any position. You watched Grayson Halton play the game the other day. He was their best defensive lineman. And, you watched him in Oklahoma, and that's kind of how he played at Oklahoma. Like he gets off blocks. He refuses to stay blocks. And he went up against Skoronski, the highest paid guard in football, and still made good plays against him. Like I thought that some of the rookies really popped in that game last week.
Speaking of the rookies here, so you mentioned Halton a little bit there already, but the guy who was rushing next to him, Romello Height, what did you see from him in that preseason game against the Titans, and what's something more you want to see from him going into this week here against the Chargers for Romello?
I'll be honest, he didn't pop. I looked at him a little bit. I didn't study him that hard, not like Grayson because he was just so good. But Romello is he played on a great defensive line at Texas Tech. Highly paid defensive line. All four guys got drafted, obviously starting with David Bailey. But I'm looking for a guy that can just beat a tackle. Whether it's with power, whether it's with moves, whether it's getting to a second move. I'm just looking for a guy that can win on the edge. Like the 49ers need that in the worst way. When Nick went down last year, and obviously what happened to their first-round pick, I mean, all these things happened. They couldn't apply pressure to the quarterback. So I just want to see him in the second game. I want to see him because a lot of these guys, I talked to these guys about it at the SAC Summit. A lot of these guys overthink everything. And every coach is telling them, just cut it loose. But they don't really know how to do it. And so play fast, cut it loose. The first thing he's got to do is he's got to get off on the snap. Every great pass rusher times the snap. And that's the first thing. If you're still in your stance and the ball is like being hyped, like you're not going to win a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. So that's a couple things I'm going to look for this week.
Well, another guy that flashed and popped to me alongside Grayson Halton, Jaden Duggar. I mean, this guy, 6'5", 240, linebacker. He's big, he's strong. Now, he might be a little raw still, and you got Dre Greenlaw and you got Fred Warner. What did you think of Duggar, and could this be a guy that could have some potential starts this year for San Francisco?
So I didn't know much about Jaden, and I was playing in this golf tournament in Long Island at the end of June, and there was a guy named Jimmy Salgado who coached with the Buffalo Bills in a long time in the league. He's coaching at University of Louisville. Louisiana. And that's where Jaden came from. So, like, I see him, and we're just kind of catching up, and all that. He wants to get back into the league, and so we're talking. And he's telling me about Jaden. So he goes, Baldy, so I went back, and I did a breakdown on him at Louisiana. And all those things that you mentioned showed up on tape. And then you watch him, like Cam Ward gets out of the pocket the other day, and Jaden Duggar just flashed and flattened him. Now, Cam Ward's a hell of an athlete, and he's fast. And he flattened Cam Ward to the sideline for, I don't know, maybe a 1-yard gain. That play popped. Now, he looks a little bit lost in there where the ball is going and kind of running into blocks and things like that. But the overall size, speed, movement, he's got that. Now, it's a whole lot different playing inside linebacker, in the NFC West than it is, at Louisiana. But I think the talent is there. That's the one play that really flashed for me when he flattened Cam Ward to the sideline, because you see just the raw speed and the movement and ability. I really want to kind of watch him in the second game because they're in the market for a new inside linebacker. I'm not knocking Fred or Dre or anybody out, but everybody's looking for that next wave of guys that can step in and play.
Again, we're keeping on this next wave in the rookie class here, Baldy. Ephesians Pricesock at corner last week had a couple of plays where he was matched up against Carnell Tate and kept Carnell Tate from getting the ball. He had that one play in the end zone there where he was able to knock the ball away from there. Yeah, what did you like from Pricesock? And then again, kind of going with the theme here, what's the next thing you want to see from him in this week 2 matchup?
Well, he's a tall, long corner, and everybody's looking for him so that you can make that play on Tate there in the end zone. You can just your reach alone, and then the timing of it, like just that play alone. You go, okay, let's see more. What's he like one-on-ones in practice against whatever receivers are healthy right now. But you want to see that one-on-one ability to defend passes and not give up plays in the end zone like that. That was like those kind of plays get your attention, and so you want to keep getting every coach. You want to get, the fans, the analysts, you want to get their attentions in these preseason games, especially for a young guy. Like, find out who he is, what's his number, where did he come from, what round was he drafted, he's a Washington kid, okay. Like, it makes you pay attention. That's what you want. You want to catch these guys' eyes right now.
Speaking of someone that did that, and I don't know how much, again, you said is preseason, it's not the end-all, be-all, but Curtis Rourke flashed a little bit for me. He showed some moxie, some athleticism. He's got a good arm. He's got the perfect ideal size. People forgot about him because he had a redshirt rookie season with the torn ACL, but he was the quarterback at Indiana before Fernando Mendoza. Listen, I'm not saying he's all of a sudden going to be like your QB2 ahead of Mac Jones, but Baldy, if a situation arises, I don't know, during the season where a team wants to trade for Mac Jones, does it sound crazy if I'm okay with Curtis Rourke potentially being my number 2 after one preseason game? I know we got to pump the brakes, but he showed me some stuff.
Yeah, he did. And, it's good to see him back out there in the field. It's like literally these quarterbacks that come to Kyle Shanahan, to go to Sean McVay, like go to, Kevin O'Connell. It's like quarterback rehab, honestly. Like all these guys, Baker Mayfield goes to McVay, Sam Darnold comes to Kyle. Like, you look at these, you see Kyler Murray right now with Kevin O'Connell, watch. It's like literally some of these guys just need to be around a great system and a great coach and coaches that coach you hard. And all these guys will tell you that time around those guys was valuable, really valuable. And so I think, watching him just, escape the pocket, extend some plays and make some throws. He played well at Indiana. I think they beat Michigan when he was there. Like I might be wrong on that, but I thought he played well against Michigan, just going back in my memory. But like, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Like Brock Purdy came out of nowhere. Nobody thought Brock Purdy could do what he's doing. You'll never know what any of these guys could do until they get a chance to play. And then you get a chance to be coached and be able to sit back and watch, Brock and Mac do it last year like they did and study all these quarterbacks around the league in the film room. I'm sure that's all he did, while he rehabbed. So, let's see more. Let's see more right now.
Baldy, I think probably one of the more interesting position battles we're seeing in this Niners training camp. It's not one of the sexier battles, but it's one of the bigger battles. It's that left guard spot. Last weekend, we saw Robert Jones and Connor Colby getting some time in there. I think you'll probably see Carver Willis maybe this week as well. Just how are you assessing that left guard spot in the 49ers offensive line overall right now?
Well, you're always looking for depth, You hope Trent can go 17 plus, but you need depth. Robert Jones at one point was a hell of a player in Miami. I mean, I think he was a 3rd round pick, maybe La Tech, I'm guessing. But Robert Jones was a good player. He's played football in this league. So he's looking to extend his career. I would say that all these guys got a lot of reps. They all played the first half in that first group with Rourke. Let's see more. Let's see more. This is a real pro style. They run a lot of power football, run a lot of power, moves. This time 3 years ago, Dominic Pooney came out of nowhere and nailed down the right guard spot because of an injury. And so you get these guys a chance to play. Let them just perform and let them show consistency. Keep them out of the stat page with penalties, and let's see if they can move some bodies up front to give McCaffrey some some room to maneuver right now.
All right, Baldy, I'm going to put you on the spot. You know how Mike Sando every year he has the quarterback tier list, right? He has, he does all the executives, head coaches, NFL, like all this stuff. He does the survey. We were having a little fun yesterday and kind of doing like the quarterback, or not the quarterback, but the head coach tier list, excuse me. And the NFC West might have the 3 best head coaches in all of football right now. And Sean McVay, Mike McDonald, and Kyle Shanahan. How would you kind of power rank those 3? I know it's a tough one. Power rank those 3 right now in the NFC West. Right? Obviously, we have the other LaFleur. He's a rookie. We're not going to include him. But those 3 in the NFC West, McDonald, reigning Super Bowl champion, Sean McVay, who has one, and Kyle, who's been to 2.
Well, I mean, it's all about winning Super Bowls. So it's kind of hard to put Kyle above 2 guys that have won Super Bowls. I mean, regardless of how good he's been for a decade now in San Francisco, how good he was as a coordinator in Atlanta, Cleveland, he's had success. And then the coaches that he has spun off, just the way McVay has spun off coaches, wait till you see these coaches coming out of Seattle pretty soon. They're all going to take a piece of Mike McDonald's defense and basically take it to other places. So it is just that. They do it a little bit different. Obviously, Mike's from the defensive side of Mike McDaniel's from the defensive side of the ball. But, you get a chance to watch him on Hard Knocks, and you just watch how he interacts with players, and, he loves them up, but at the same time, he's hard. And, and you're looking at, the draft picks that John Schneider has had. He's got a lot to work with. But, you just look at the replacement that they got from San Francisco to call the plays. That's a Kyle Shanahan coach right there, Brian Fleury. Like, he came from Kyle. You look at what the offensive line with the Chargers. That's a Kyle disciple. And so all these guys right now, you look at Chris Forster and all the guys that have basically learned from Chris. And that's Kyle's system that he learned from his dad. So, there's something about Kyle. Like, he knows how to coach the coaches. He's as hard on his coaches as he is the players. And so and McVay's the same way. And so I don't know how to rank him, honestly. Like, I feel like I'm gonna do some guy dirty, and I don't want to do that.
It's like picking your favorite kid, right? It's like, I'm not gonna do that. Baldy, but are we not talking enough though about, obviously there's always that Super Bowl hangover, right? There's only the Chiefs and Patriots in this current century that have been able to go back to back for a reason. It's really hard to do it. Are we talking enough about the loss of Clint Kubiak though as offensive coordinator in Seattle? How big of a loss is that for them?
I remember Clint was in New Orleans before he went to Seattle. And those first 2, I remember Troy Aikman was doing a game down there. And I called him. It was in Philadelphia and New Orleans. Both teams were 2-0, I believe. Or New Orleans was 2-0. And the offense was putting up 40 points a game. And I remember asking Troy about Clint Kubiak. And he goes, man, I think it's a perfect symphony, is what he said. And then everybody in the offensive line got hurt. And the whole thing just collapsed. And he got blown out and goes to Seattle, wins the Super Bowl. Clint's a hell of a coach. And we're going to see, you saw just watching Fernando the other day, just the mechanics. He was never under center in Indiana, at Cal, but under center, he knows how to coach that position and knows what it's supposed to look like. And so Brian Fleury's in there right now. I think Brian is really good. He did some things the other day, just play action pass off, setting it up off some power runs, and he impressed me in that first preseason game. But time will tell. I mean, Sam Darnold obviously got really comfortable in the postseason, put up some big numbers, had to, in order to beat the Rams, had to put up big numbers. And you saw Jackson Smith and Jigba emerge into an elite player. A running back become the Super Bowl MVP. Like, everything popped. It remains to be seen if Brian could do it, but he learned from Kyle. He learned a great deal from him.
Baldy, we're 23 minutes into this conversation, and we've yet to bring up the 49ers quarterback, Brock Purdy, which I guess feels appropriate because throughout this training camp, haven't heard a whole lot of news about Brock Purdy. I mean, you'll see, his training camp numbers that the beat reporters come up with, and the training camp numbers do look good, but it is training camp. I just find it curious, though, that we're just not hearing a whole lot about Brock during training camp. Is this one of those situations, though, where the less you're hearing about your franchise quarterback in training camp, the better, like a no news is good news situation?
I think so. I mean, we've heard just about nothing but injuries. So that's been like the story, right, throughout training camp is that. But that's not a bad thing if nobody's talking about your quarterback. That's okay. We don't know yet when he's going to put a healthy 11 on the field. It might be the first game of the year. Who knows? Then we'll talk a great deal about him, and we'll see how he operates. But, I'm sure he's just busy fine-tuning all of his skills. I'm sure he's working with Stribling, getting him up to speed, working on the timing right there. And some of these other guys, Watkins, some of these young receivers that they have, I'm sure he's just working on all of that. But that's okay. Like training camp, honestly, nobody should get too excited about any of these games. I do because I like watching the young guys and looking for traits that can carry over, to the regular season and can help out a team. But I was talking to Matt LaFleur the other day, and he was like in a bad mood. And I said, I like you in a bad mood, Matt. He goes, why is that? He goes, because you should be in a bad mood. Nobody should be having fun in training. It's training camp. Nobody should accept penalties. Nobody should accept missed assignments. You should be hard on your players, right? And this is the time to do it. And so I'm only saying that because I don't think there should be a lot of attention on quarterbacks or teams in the preseason. They should be just getting down to business and fine-tuning everything to get ready for a long, grueling season.
One more for you, Baldy, and we appreciate the time as always this morning. I guess the chatter around Vita Vea and the San Francisco 49ers is getting a little bit louder. According to some insiders, they've checked in, San Francisco that is, on the defensive tackle who's holding in over in Tampa. I mean, should the Niners trade for this guy straight up?
Yes, absolutely. Like if you got a chance to get Vita Vea, who cares about the money? That's the accountant's job, is to take care of the money. Like if you got a chance to get Vita Vea, you watch everybody on the defensive line and at linebacker get better. Like there's a reason why they basically won the division 5 years in a row with him. Now they got hurt last year, but that guy is a great, great player, and he's more than a run stuffer. Like you let that guy go one-on-one with any center or guard in this league, he's going to destroy him. Destroy him. His Polynesian power is unmatched. Yes, if they have a chance, like I've been saying, like if the Giants want to go compete in the NFC East, they should go trade for him. That's the biggest position weakness they have. If you want Arvell Reese to be in the Pro Bowl this year, like go get Vita Vea. You want Fred Warner to get back and Dre Greenlaw to get back to where they are, put Vita Vea in the middle of that defensive line.
Really quick, Ball, you want to shoehorn this one last question. Nick Bosa dealing with some tendonitis in that that second ACL knee there. Just what's your concern level there with Bosa, or is this kind of a similar situation with McCaffrey where there's a lot of time between now and the season starting to where this thing can all get better?
Yeah, I think there's time. I mean, tendonitis is no joke. It's a nuisance. It's a pebble in your shoe. You want it to go away. There's things that you could do rehab-wise. I don't doubt that Nick's going to be ready to go. Sometimes this comes along with that surgery and other type of surgeries. So I wouldn't panic. I feel like Nick is going to be ready, but because he's always going to be in shape. But I wouldn't. If Nick Bosa never takes a snap in preseason, I remember one year Randy White was a preeminent defensive lineman in the NFL, defensive tackle in the NFL. He missed all preseason on a contract holdout. He went fishing for 6 weeks, right? We nobody heard from him. He showed up on a Monday night game against the Rams, and he was the best player on the field. Didn't take one snap in a preseason. I'm not saying Nick can still do that, but that would be my level of concern. If he's in the lineup week one, they'll be just fine.